Racism, or race. Here's a story. Mankind likes to define things. It's the nature of our being. We define things by category and range, how things fit together, etc. This is not unusual. Race is a perfect example of this. The human species, genetically speaking, is not all that diverse. Skin color differences aside, there really isn't distinct species of humans. We're all humans, all Homo sapiens, all the same, except for minor differences like coloration, eye color, hair, or in my case, lack of it. Now, if you look at the world culture as it works out, the concept of race is more based on regional effects. The skin colors became darker in sunnier environments and lighter in colder environments. This was a typical natural process. What happened in the long run is that people started identifying themselves based on how they look. This is not unusual. If everyone of a certain group wore certain types of clothing, you would automatically assume members of the group who wore that clothing were members of this group. So the whites considered themselves white, and the Africans considered themselves black, and the Asians considered themselves Oriental, and Indians considered themselves Indians, and Native Americans considered themselves Native Americans. But if you look at the genetic diversity of all these various groups, what you'll find out is that there is no such thing as race. It's a myth. It always has been. It is something man-made to create a sense of identity, to identify themselves with regions. It's something man created to describe the differences between one group and another as they were traveling around the world. They noticed that certain colorations tend to be in certain areas, and so on and so forth. That was more a result of simple travel restrictions than in anything else. It really had nothing to do with actual races. So then the end result is what happened was that we defined people, whether you're black, you're white, you're Hispanic, or whatever. Pick a group. We started expanding on the concept of race. And the end result is that we have created all sorts of cultural identities based on this race. If you're black, you can't be a European ancestor. If you're white, you can't be an African ancestor. If you're Asian, you can't be a European ancestor. You have to come from these specific spots because your skin color matches. Now in our current election, we have a gentleman running for president. He calls himself black. I'm disappointed with him doing that. The reason why is because he's just as much white as he is black. He has a white mother. And he has a black father. Honestly speaking, he's neither. But he has access and legitimate claim to both. He has just as much right to be proud of his white heritage as he does his black. Unfortunately, society makes you take sides. And in this case, he has to take sides in preference to what his cosmetic appearance is, which is that of a black man in the United States. Which is unfair because it really devalues a part of his lineage, his white lineage, his mother's side. This is a typical problem in our society. Now, what to do about it? I don't know if you can do much about it at this point. As much as I am aware of it, I still consider myself white. I'm certain if you look down my family line, you're going to find that there's all sorts of mixes involved. We're all basically mutts. Genetically speaking, it's the same deal. There's no such thing as a pure race anywhere, a pure anything. If you look in any village, no matter how remote, you'll find diversity. So, what do? What is to be done? What's to be done is you recognize that we are human beings. You recognize that our skin colors really aren't a significant barrier and shouldn't be the significant barrier. It should be a blindness about race, not an obsession with it. And it's just as bad to come into the room and count how many white heads are in the room, or how many black heads are in the room, or how many Oriental heads are in the room, count the heads and say, oh, well, there's not enough mixture or whatnot, as it would be to go into the room and say, I'm white and I'm better than anyone else. On the flip side, Every group has reasons and a right to be proud of their lineage. Every group has done things of value, has shaped this world. And to ignore that is to be culturally blind. But also to ignore the right of the group to be proud of their lineage is to be also culturally abusive. Anyways, that leads into other issues of civil rights and how we deal with it today in our society, and the inherent flaws behind the message of many of the civil rights movements. Thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you've enjoyed this little commentary. Good day.